All right, so I did kind of a rough sort of seeds for what I want to plant in the fall garden. I keep a binder for my garden with all the information. You can look online for your local ag extension office and they will have charts that are very helpful. This is from Clemson. It has in our state for ones that live on the coast and ones that do not live on the coast. When is it recommended to plant for the spring? When is it recommended to plant for the fall? And it has this great chart for how much space they need, how many seeds are going to be in a 100-foot row. So you can kind of plan how much you're going to need. So I use this. It's very helpful with it's made with our frost dates in mind. So I was much better about keeping a garden journal before adding a second child. It's a little bit more chaotic now. So what I like to do is kind of do a rough kind of estimate of what I want to plant where, what I already have planted that's going to be there, so that I can kind of time when is going to be our frost, that I can pull that out and plant something else in that space, and how many seeds I want to start, knowing that not all the seeds are probably going to make it to maturity to get planted out in the garden. So I know right now I have pepper plants in here. And I know I have my cherry tomatoes here. And I have my onions here. This area down here I normally do as my lettuce box. So I am going to plan to put lettuce, arugula in here, and probably, I'm going to do a lot of spinach. Oh, I forgot there's pepper plant here too. I want to do a lot of spinach because I want to have it for the fall to save in the freezer and stuff. So I'm going to say that this whole area here, all of these boxes are going to be spinach. I want to do peas. So I'm going to do the peas along this fence line here. I'm going to write peas. We'll do lots of peas. We'll get them extras saved up for the winter time. Let's see, I know I want to do broccoli. I think I might do broccoli in the front garden. So what I kind of do is I think about what are all the seeds that I have and how much my family eats. Something like broccoli we eat a lot of. Something like cabbages, we probably would eat like one every 2 weeks. So I'm not going to plant 15 cabbages all at the same time unless I am trying to give them away or sell them. So when I'm thinking about feeding my family, I want to keep in mind what's a realistic expectation of what we're going to eat. So I have carrots. I have a few carrots in here. I know I definitely want to try to do some carrots over the fall. And I definitely want to do my carrots in this bed because I know this soil is really loose and it'll be good for growing carrots. So I'm gonna say carrots in this area and carrots in this area. And I may or may not put carrots here after the peppers are done and gone. We'll see. So let's see here what else. So I still have my big garden that I can work with out front. I want to plant a bunch of onions. Right now, this whole space back here is being taken up by squashes and tomatoes, and this whole area down here is being taken up by watermelons. So one of the things I did too, I'm still working on this is a work in progress, is I started putting my seeds in a binder. I have a hard time keeping my seeds organized. They go into all different kinds of places because especially since I'm saving my own seeds for some stuff, I have them in jars like this. And these jars are not gonna fit in a binder, nice and pretty. So I have a box also that has a bunch of seeds in it, and then I have a tin that has a bunch of seeds in it. So I end up with seeds all over the place, and then I feel very disorganized because I don't know what I have and what I don't have. So I was trying to keep these more organized by herbs, warm weather crops, cool weather crops, so that I can go through and see, oh, see, I forgot that I have cauliflower seeds. So I can plan for what I want to grow. So I have a bunch of cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, onions in this envelope. And in my front garden, I'm doing more like rows in the ground with walkways in between. I might see, I think parsley is gonna be started in the fall time, I think. I've got all my lettuces and spinach in this one. And then here's my beans, the ones that I couldn't find because I organized them and then couldn't remember where I organized them. So, I think what we're gonna do, I might not plan this one all the way out. So I have this 2-foot space along the side here that I wanna do. What do I wanna do there? Do I have anything that's going to be climbing over the winter? I don't think I do. Look at my list here real quick. Nope, nothing that's gonna be climbing. So what I think I wanna do is do onions in this section. We're gonna do some broccoli in this section. And we're gonna put some cabbages in this section. And what I'll do is, on this chart, each square represents a foot. So my big garden out there is about 54 feet by 64 feet. So each of these squares represents 1 foot. So what I'll do as I am refining this chart, I will put the date that I'm going to plant this, or hope to plant it, and how many in each square. So like how far apart they're gonna be. Now, my front garden is not set up like a square garden, but I still plant as if it were a square garden so that I have the spaces where I'm walking and then the parts that I'm not walking on, so that it is more densely planted in the areas where it is supposed to be planted, and then there's nothing in the walkways. Eventually, I would really like to do like a 2-foot raised bed the whole way around the border of the big garden, because then it would really nicely separate the outside grass from the garden so that it's really, really defined, which I would really like to have. All right, so here's our seeds that we pulled out earlier today. I really like to get down into the nitty-gritty and like really plan the whole thing and plan how many seeds I'm going to start when. It just helps me keep on track, because since I have so many distractions and since I have a lot of stuff going on, if I can put the list together in advance to have, then I can just look and say, okay, today I need to do blah, and then tomorrow I need to do this. And then it helps me stay really on track with when to start seeds and how much to plant and everything too. So we have all this area on this side of the fence in between where the cucumbers are, which are probably taking about, let's say we're taking about that much for the cucumbers. So we have all this space over here on this side of the fence. We can put our peas here. And this is, like I said, this is a guesstimate. I'll go out and measure exactly and see where our pumpkins and squashes and watermelons and all that end, because they should keep going until the frost. Should. The cucumbers may not last that long. So, but the tomatoes will. All the tomatoes will last until the frost. And the squash should. It should. It just, as long as it doesn't get too dried out. So we're gonna do all peas in here. And I have snow peas too in a jar right here. These are the ones that I saved from the garden from the spring. So we have all of our peas here. So So normally what I would do, I don't want to plant all of my peas at the same exact time. So I would like to kind of do it in succession, at least a little bit. So we're gonna look at our chart here. This is the one from Clemson for South Carolina. So peas are on here. Let's see. Garden peas. So we are in Piedmont and we are gonna be doing the fall. So it's gonna be our last category here. So we need to plant our peas between August 5th and October 30th. So that's the earliest we can plant them, is August 15th. Did I say August 5th? I meant August 15th. So I'm gonna say we're gonna plant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say we're gonna plant 10 square feet of peas August 15th. And then we're gonna plant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next 10 feet of peas, we're gonna plant 2 weeks after that. So 8/29. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would be helpful if I had my calendar out at the same time. And then the next set of 10 foots of peas, we're gonna plant 2 weeks after that. So this is gonna be our plan. Every 2 weeks, plant 10 more feet of peas. 5. And we can set up how we want to separate these peas from each other. So I could plant these blue peas at the very end down here, and then these Lincoln peas in the beginning, and plant our snow peas in the middle. You can really arrange it however you want. You could put a section of peas here, and a section of peas here, and a section of peas there. You can arrange your garden however you want and put it together. That is where it gets really open-ended and creative, and you can really just go with it. I'm so excited to try this broccoli rabe. All right, so let me see here. So I'm going to have I am not going to have a walkway in here because the rows are going this way. So we have a 2-foot row here. And this is where our cucumbers are right now. I'm gonna write cukes. So we have our watermelons in here. We have our watermelons along this fence line, and then I have a 2-foot walkway planned here. I had strings up so I could see where the rows are, and they kind of got blown when we had that giant thunderstorm come through. So when I'm using my rows, I normally will do 3 to 4 feet of planting space because that's kind of how far you can reach through, and then have a 2-foot walkway. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to mark this planting area here. And we're gonna write that we are going to be planting broccoli in this area. And like my first year, I tried really hard to mix plants up, not have, so like every square it had to have something different next to it. And it was just so complicated trying to figure out putting stuff all over the place. With this size of garden, it's much easier to just have kind of a section of the same kind of plant that you're dealing with, so that when you are planting it, watering it, taking care of it, harvesting it, you're not bouncing around all over the garden in different ways. So this is going to be another walkway. So then we're going to count another 4 squares. That's 4 feet. I'm going to draw another section here. So in this section, I want to do our cauliflowers. Then I'm going to do another 2-foot walkway. Another 4-foot growing space. You can see how this gets really organized. And this one I am going to do cabbages. When I am setting up the garden too, I like to put the stuff that's going to be vining on the edges or stuff that's super, super tall, I try to be mindful about that. Something like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbages where it's low to the ground, I'm not so worried about it blocking the sun or having like a negative effect sun-wise on the plants around it, because it's not tall. It's not gonna be blocking out the sunshine from the other plants. Oh, I feel like my brain really has to think hard when I do this kind of stuff, because it's a lot to think about how much and where and when. And then I also have to think about how much space I have under my grow light inside. So I can only start so much indoors. Some of it I need to just start right in the ground. Oh. It's saying on this chart that I can actually start some beans all the way up until August 1st. So I still have some time to start some beans. I may do that because I did not get beans planted this year. All right. Let's go ahead and say we're gonna do a row of beans right in here. Green beans. Okay, so I've got a bunch of green beans. Plant those. I know there was an herb I was waiting on that needed to be planted in the fall. And I have like a giant bag of barley seeds and hull-less oats and a couple other grains one of my friends gave me. There's no tag to tell you when to plant it. So I need to look up if that's a fall thing or a spring thing. Usually I'll end up spending a lot of time like staring at this and thinking about how I want to do it. And so it may take me a couple of days of looking at it and thinking about it to decide on a game plan. That's part of the reason why I do it in pencil, so I can change it and rework things. I may do the green beans over here since they're going to be planted so much sooner than the broccolis, and just kind of work my way down since I am still working on grass removal and mulching, because it would be easier to keep it in the rows if I go this way. And this row is already mulched and everything and ready to go. So I don't know. It's a lot of decisions to make. It's a lot of decisions. It's a lot of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about this for a little bit and think about how much of each of these things I really want to plant and how many seeds I actually have, and work on some more finite details for this, and we'll check in a little bit. I've been thinking about planting this fall garden for a few days, and I think I finally figured out how I'm going to do it. So instead of planning out everything that I'm going to put in here, I am going to plan what areas I have, and because not all of my area is ready for planting, as I get area ready, I'm going to plant. And I will mark down what I plant where. So instead of just having a plan, I'm kind of going with the flow this year. So this is going to be, my back garden already has the soil ready to go. This is all good to go. So I started dating in here when I'm going to be starting to plant the peas. Now the other problem that I'm running into is that I am way overestimating how many seeds I have. So like these green beans, this was one package of green beans, took up about it was actually probably less space than this. It was probably about 3 square feet. I thought it would take up a whole lot more space than that to plant my green beans. So when I'm sitting here planting this much broccoli, I think what I'm going to find is that I run out of seeds far before I run out of space. So what I'm going to do this year, since this is a new space for me, is I'm going to plan when I'm starting my seeds, and then when I transplant them in the ground, I'll mark how much space they actually took up and the date that they were planted. And that's how I'm going to put my garden plan together for this year. And then that will give me a better idea for the spring of how much space
this is actually going to take up, because on paper it doesn't feel like as much as when you go out there and actually start planting it.
I wanted to give you a closer up look of what the garden plan looks like, because it's kind of hard to see when it's so big and far away from the camera. So this is my fall garden for the back. These are each 1 foot, and these are my walkway planks in the garden. So this is where I am planning on putting everything so far. And like I said, this may change as I am putting stuff in. I may end up putting the green beans back here and just doing the peas in the front garden. We'll see. Since it's kind of up in the air, I'm just gonna kind of adjust it as I go, which is totally fine. When I had just one 4x4 square foot garden, something like charting this was much more necessary to make sure I was using all of my space to the best of my ability, much more necessary than it is now. And then this is the close-up. We got some stuff on here, didn't we? This is the close-up of the front garden, the new big space. And like I said, same thing. This is what I had originally written down, but we are going to fill this in as we go with what gets planted, and we'll see how it goes.
That is my plan. I would love to hear how you guys plan out your gardens. Do you use a computer website? Do you use paper and pencil like this? Do you use an app on your phone? What are the ways that you guys like to plan your gardens? Do you have lists? Do you put it together all in one place? Do you have multiple lists? Let me know. I'd love to know. It's been really fun hanging out with you today and brainstorming about how to put the garden together. I will see you next time.